Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB game schedule for Tuesday, April 9th, 2024. If you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in the MLB, you can find this at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Tuesday, Major League Baseball. First up, we see an early afternoon game between the Detroit Tigers and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Casey Mize and Martin Perez are the starters. Casey Mize's first start back at the major league level in the regular season, in regular season action, wasn't miserable. The ERA looked steep at 6.23, but it was 4 1/3 innings of 4 strikeout baseball. It was still a Tigers win in the end. He gave up 3 runs, but no home runs. The control was off a little bit, but I think Mize is going to put together a decent campaign in 2024. He was one of the better pitching prospects in all of baseball in the last couple of years. So I think Mize pitches well, especially against a Pirates team that has the tendency of striking out, quite a bit. Mize can miss those bats. I think that benefits him in a game like this. And Martin Perez, while he's pitched well so far this year, 2.45 ERA, he's faced 2 of the weakest lineups in baseball against lefties in the Nationals and the Marlins. It's definitely going to be much tougher against the Detroit Tigers. And Perez got a 4.67 expected ERA, 4.65 xFIP to start the season. He's somebody that does a good job of keeping the ball on the ground, but doesn't really miss a lot of bats and walks, quite a few batters. We saw 4.09 walks per nine so far this year in those 2 starts. So I'm going to go with the Detroit Tigers here. I think that the Tigers, I think this is a pretty competitive game here, and I think the entire series is competitive, but I'm going to go with the Tigers in this one. I think their bullpen towards the end will be able to hold on. I think Mize gives them 4 to 5, maybe 6 strong innings. The bats get to Perez for a few runs, and in a lower scoring game, I think the Tigers take it. Next up, we see the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Boston Red Sox. Corbin Burnes and Brayan Bello are your starters. I'm tempted to take a shot here with the home dog and the Boston Red Sox. However, Brayan Bello, I would say, is somebody that is best when he's keeping the ball on the ground. I would say he's a ground ball specialist. And so far this year, he's given up 3 home runs in 10 innings of work, including 2 home runs his last start against the Oakland A's, which is not what you want to see if you're a ground ball specialist. So his ground ball to fly ball ratio is right around 50-50 to start the season. He's missing bats. He had 6 strikeouts in that last game. But I think the Orioles will be able to get to him for a few runs. They were able to in the only start he had against them last year. 5 innings, 3 runs, 7 base hits. It was still a Red Sox win, though, in the end. And I could see him winning this game. Corbin Burnes, he was excellent in his first start of the year. But the next start against the Royals, 5 2/3 innings, 9 base hits given up in that ball game. It was only 2 earned runs. He got out of a few jams, but he only had 3 strikeouts, so he really wasn't missing a lot of bats. And he was in line to take the loss in that game. Cole Reagans, the opposite starting pitcher, was excellent in that one. I think he had a shutout through 6 2/3. And it was because of the Royals' bullpen that they lost that game. But Burnes was in line for the loss, and I could see the Red Sox winning this game in the end. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Burnes, this is going to be, I believe, his first career appearance at Fenway Park. So, it's a hitter-friendly ballpark. It's not something that, I think the lack of experience could certainly show up in a game like this. I'm going to go with the over and the Boston Red Sox in this one. I mentioned that the Orioles bullpen, I'm not in love with this bullpen, and we saw in the final 2 games of that Pirates series, they blew leads, or it was a close game, and they lost in walk-off fashion. So give me the Boston Red Sox in this one. Next up, we see the Chicago White Sox taking on the Cleveland Guardians. Mike Soroka and Logan Allen are the projected starters. Of course, Logan Allen was supposed to go on Monday, but because of the postponement due to weather on Sunday in that Twins-Guardians game, they moved McKenzie back to Monday, and then they moved Allen here on Tuesday. I still think Allen pitches well, like I mentioned in the video for the Monday rundown. He's been pitching well so far this season. The White Sox have really struggled against lefties. And Mike Soroka is somebody that doesn't miss a lot of bats, facing a team that doesn't strike out a lot. To me, it's a dangerous combination. I think Soroka is in trouble in this game, even though he was solid in that last start against the Royals. It just goes to show you with this White Sox team this year, your starter can go out and give you 6 innings of 2-run ball, and the final score is 10-1 because that White Sox bullpen has just really, really struggled. Give me the Cleveland Guardians. I think they win this game in blowout fashion. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Joe Ross and Frankie Montas are your starters. Joe Ross did exactly what you're looking to do as a starting pitcher, and that's not give up runs in his first game as a Brewer. 3 2/3 innings, no runs, no earned runs at all. But he had 5 walks in that game. That's the key for me with Joe Ross is his control. He's had, really throughout his career in the minors and the majors, the control has been the problem. And 5 walks in 1 start and 3 2/3 is not going to get it done. I know he was able to get out of jams in that first game, but I don't think it's going to be the case here at Great American Ballpark. If you put runners on base at a hitter-friendly ballpark with a solid offense in the Cincinnati Reds, they're going to make you pay. And Frankie Montas, while I do think eventually he may have a few rough starts here and there. He had 3 walks in 5 2/3 with a home run in that last game against the Phillies. He's been 11 2/3 of 1-run baseball with that .77 ERA. He's got 2 wins under his belt. The Reds are winning his games, and I think Cincinnati wins this game as well. Give me the Cincinnati Reds on the money line. Next up, we see the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Seattle Mariners. George Kirby and Chris Bassett are your projected starters. I think both starting pitchers who had big expectations going into the season and have not really delivered on those expectations have bounced back starts here. I think we see a low-scoring kind of pitcher's duel in this ball game. George Kirby, he faced a Guardians team that they do a great job. Like I mentioned, they limit strikeouts and they make it really tough for strikeout-dependent starters like Kirby to have success. And we saw it was 3 2/3 innings, 9 hits. Not a lot of. He didn't give up a single home run. It was a lot of singles, some bloop singles, some sharp contact for sure. And it wasn't, certainly wasn't a good start for him. But I do think he was a little bit unlucky in that game. And I think against the Blue Jays, he should fare a lot better. And Chris Bassett. His first 2 starts this season were at Tampa Bay and at Houston. Very, very good lineups, but also 2 road starts. When you look at the home and road splits for Bassett last year, he was much, much better at Rogers Center. So against a Mariners team that offensively is off to a slow start to the season, I think Bassett delivers his best start of the year by far. And both guys have the ability to go deep into ball games. Bassett only went 5 4 1/3 innings in his first 2 games. I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the 6 to 7 inning range in this game. I like both bullpens, so give me the under here in Mariners Blue Jays. Next up, we see the New York Mets taking on the Atlanta Braves. Adrian Hauser and Reynaldo Lopez are your starters. As much as the Mets are, this is a big rivalry, and the Mets are usually competitive in this series. I can't get there with New York in this ball game. As Adrian Hauser, while he was solid in his season debut and Mets debut against the Detroit Tigers, 5 innings of 1-run ball, he only had the 3 strikeouts. He had a few walks, and this Atlanta Braves lineup is absolutely crushing right-handed pitching right now. Number 1 in baseball by far, pretty much, in OPS and isolated power against righties, but they also have a very, very low strikeout rate. And that's what we mentioned last year, why the Braves were so dangerous was, they're a powerful lineup that hits a lot of home runs, but usually power hitters, they strike out quite a bit. But the Braves, 16.7% strikeout rate as a team against righties and a 10% walk rate. I think they crush Hauser in the Mets bullpen. Give me the Braves on the run line. Next up is the Houston Astros taking on the Kansas City Royals. Christian Javier and Cole Ragans are your starters. Look at the Kansas City Royals. This was our underdog team or our dark horse team this season in the American League Central. Had a little bit of a slow start, but they played some tough teams. They swept that 4-game series against the White Sox, and they're playing great baseball right now. Their bullpen's sharpening up. Their starting rotation's been one of the best in baseball in terms of the ERA, quality starts, and Cole Ragans certainly a part of that. He's got a 1.46 ERA at 6 1/3, a shutout ball against the Orioles in his last game, 7 strikeouts in that game. And Christian Javier's been very solid himself, 11 innings of shutout baseball, but had 5 walks in that last start against the Blue Jays. The Royals hit right into pitching pretty well at Kauffman Stadium, and so far in this season, Kansas City number 6 in baseball in isolated power against righties. So Javier, somebody that's had some issues with the home run ball in his career here and there, facing a Royals team that has got a lot of power, and this is going to be Javier's first road start of the season. I think the Royals can be able to get to him here, and as long as that Royals bullpen holds on, I think they grab the W, and this is an Astros bullpen that's not been great. So even if it's a close game late, I don't think it's game over for the Royals. I think they compete. We saw them in that White Sox series. They were trailing in a few games. They were close games late, and they were able to prevail and find the wins and run line covers. Give me the Royals in this one on the money line. So we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Tyler Glasnow and Louis Varland are your projected starters. For me, it's a bad matchup for the Minnesota Twins offensively. This is an offense that's struggling quite a bit, but they're also striking out so much, and you're facing a strikeout guy in Tyler Glasnow, somebody that can miss bats. He misses bats for a living, basically. Minnesota against right-handed pitching overall this season, 25% K rate, but I think it's rising, honestly, in the last couple of games. And, Glasnow's been sharp so far. His last game, quality start, wasn't his best outing, but still a quality start. 6 innings, 3 runs, and 7 strikeouts. And the Dodgers are 3-0 in his first 3 games as a Dodger, and 2-1 on the run line in those games as well. I think they get another win, and this time a run line cover. I'm going to lay the 1.5 runs with the Dodgers. Louis Varland, I mentioned he was supposed supposed to go for on Monday, but because of the postponement again, they moved Bailey Ober to Monday's game. So Varland, I mentioned, don't really love the matchup for him. He gave up 3 runs in 4 innings against the Brewers and a home run in that ball game. And the Dodgers, much tougher lineup than Milwaukee. So give me the Dodgers laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. Zach Wheeler for Philadelphia and Sonny Gray making his Cardinals and season debut in this one. Sonny Gray, he was a starting pitcher that last year when he was pitching for the Twins, we faded the Twins quite a bit, in his starts, not because Sonny Gray was a bad starting pitcher. He was third best in the league in ERA and had, good amount of strikeouts as well. It was the fact that Sonny Gray, really 3 things. One, he didn't pitch deep into ball games. We saw a lot of 5-inning, maybe 6-inning performances, but some 4-inning performances as well from Sonny Gray. We also, another thing is he was matched up because he was at the top of that rotation, matched up against some of the toughest pitchers in baseball on the other team. Some of the aces in the other team's rotations, like we see in this game with Zach Wheeler going for Philadelphia. And the other thing was plainly the Twins didn't back him up offensively. We saw a lot of 2-1, 1-0, final scores, and where the Twins, Gray would give him, great innings, and the Twins wouldn't back him up offensively. Now it's a new team here in St. Louis. However, the same issues I have, with Gray not really pitching deep into ball games. His first start of the season, I don't expect him to go too much more than 5 innings at the most. He didn't really have a lot of appearances in spring training. And Zach Wheeler, he's been razor sharp on the other end. He's got 2 starts with only 1 earned run, 15 strikeouts, and 12 innings of work against some solid lineups in the Reds and Braves. I know the Phillies have not backed him up offensively, but I think they'll be able to in this game. I'm gonna go with Philadelphia in this spot on the money line. Next up, it's the Oakland Athletics taking on the Texas Rangers. Alex Wood and Nathan Eovaldi are the projected starters for now, but there's no official lineup for this game, so we could see a pitching change. To me, it's a mismatch. Even if Eovaldi doesn't go in this game, I still think the Rangers will be able to get to Alex Wood, who's got a 9.72 ERA to start the season. It's a good Rangers lineup against left-handed pitching, and Alex Wood, we saw last game, 5 innings, 3 earned runs. He had 7 strikeouts against the Red Sox, but he was also getting quite a few favorable calls in that game, and because of his kind of unique delivery, sometimes umpires do give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt when it comes to calling balls and strikes. But I don't think he's going to get enough calls in this game. I think the Rangers' offense is too much, and even if they don't get to Wood, as much as they need to cover the run line, they should be able to get to the Oakland A's bullpen in the later innings. So give me the Texas Rangers here. I'm going to lay the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Colorado Rockies. Merrill Kelly and Cal Quantrill are your projected starters. Kelly's numbers at Coors Field, not amazing, but not miserable. I mean, you'll take sub-5 ERA at Coors Field as a starting pitcher with, a large sample size any day of the week. And I think Kelly pitches okay in this game. I think the Rockies probably score a few runs on him and this Diamondbacks bullpen. But for me, Cal Quantrill, I cannot trust him in this game against this strong Arizona lineup. I know the Diamondbacks, they blew some leads in that series against the Braves, and it's tough to trust their pitching staff right now, but I still think that their offense is the real deal. And against Quantrill, who's got a 9 ERA to start the season, I think they'll be able to score enough to cover the run line in this ball game. So give me the Arizona Diamondbacks laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Los Angeles Angels. Aaron Savale and Patrick Sandoval are your starters. For me, I think there's value with the home team in this one. Patrick Sandoval, we've mentioned that his control is always the concern. He had a couple of walks early in that start against the Baltimore Orioles. It ended up only going an inning and 2/3. But in that next start against the Marlins, really sharp stuff. 5 2/3 innings, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts, only the 2 walks in that game, no home runs, and that was a 10-2 Angels win. This is going to be the first home start for Sandoval this year. I think he pitches pretty well. When you look at the Tampa Bay Rays, this is a team that has decent numbers against lefties to start the season. I mean, honestly, below league average numbers. However, a very high BABIP to go with it. So not really where you want to be if you're Tampa Bay. And the strikeout rate at 28%, the walk rate only at 8.9%. I think Sandoval pitches well. Savali, somebody we mentioned, usually gives up a home run per start. And against a team with Mike Trout in the lineup, it's pretty dangerous. I think the Angels do enough here offensively to win this game in the end. Give me Los Angeles on the money line. Next up, we see the Washington Nationals taking on the San Francisco Giants. Josiah Gray and Kyle Harrison are your projected starters. Josiah Gray is somebody that we know has a lot of potential, and we saw him pitch so well in the first half of the season last year, but he's just so inconsistent. It's tough to really get a read on him in this spot. He's somebody that's had 1 road start, 1 home start to start the year, and he's given up an 8 1/3 innings, 15 base hits, 13 earned runs, and 2 home runs with 5 walks to go with it. The control's a little, always a bit of a concern. He gives up a lot of sharp contact, and even the strikeout stuff we saw a little bit last year start to drift away from Gray. He's somebody that needs to miss a lot of bats, and if he's not earning those strikeouts like we saw in that last game against the Pirates, he, should be in trouble. I mean, the Pirates, we talk about how they strike out left and right. To only have 3 Ks in a 4 1/3 inning outing it's a concern for me. So I think the Giants get to Gray, and while I'm not a big Kyle Harrison fan, at least not, in his current form, I think he'll be good enough for the Giants to win this game in the end. So give me San Francisco in this one at Oracle Park. Next up, we see the Miami Marlins taking on the New York Yankees. A.J. Puck and Carlos Rodon are your starters. I think A.J. Puck's going to be a lot better than what we've seen thus far, and I think even his last game was a step in the right direction against the Los Angeles Angels. He was able to earn those missed bats, 5 strikeouts in 4 innings. Yes, it was another blowout loss for the Marlins, but like I said, I think he will get a lot better as the season continues, and the Yankees have not been amazing against lefties to start the season, so I actually like the matchup here for A.J. Puck. The question is, can the Marlins get to Carlos Rodon? We know the Marlins have struggled offensively in general this season, but especially against lefties. But Carlos Rodon is somebody that I do not believe is a sub-3 ERA pitcher for very long. With the way, his current form at least, he gave up 2 home runs and 7 base hits in that last game against the Diamondbacks. He was able to get out of a few jams similar to Nestor Cortez in that Diamondback series, but still only 7 strikeouts in 9 2/3 innings for a strikeout-dependent starter who's got 5 walks given up and 2 home runs. I think there's a lot of regression concerns right now for Carlos Rodon, who's not great in spring training as well. I think there's value with the Marlins in this game because of how bad they started the season, and how well the Yankees have started this season, and Carlos Rodon's good numbers on paper. I don't think he's that starting pitcher right now. Give me the Marlins in this one on the money line and the run line. Next up, the final game we're going to talk about for the Tuesday card in Major League Baseball. It's the Chicago Cubs and the San Diego Padres. It's going to be no official starter for Chicago right now, but Joe Musgrove should be going for San Diego. And Java Joe had his best start of the season in his last game against the Cardinals. It was a quality start, 6 innings, 1 run, 7 strikeouts, no home runs, and only the 1 walk. Exactly what you expect to see from Joe Musgrove, who is still, I think, one of the better starting pitchers in the National League. He had a really rough start to the year, and that carried over from a really bad spring training, but his control was much better in that game against St. Louis. It was a low-scoring win for San Diego, and I like his chances in this game. Even though the Cubs are, a great offensive team right now, I think Musgrove puts together 5 to 6 good innings. Padres bullpen's been hit or miss, but I think it'll be good enough to win the game in the end. This is a tough one. We don't know who's pitching for Chicago, but I'm going to go with the San Diego Padres on the money line. And that's it. Those are the games for Tuesday in Major League Baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.